Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Finally, we're here. We were just waiting a little bit. Sorry for the delay. First, let me thank Mark and Kaylee for being here. They are from DEX Finance. Let me just explain a little bit about this Learn and Share channel. Basically, in this channel, I try to share everything of the knowledge that I have learned throughout my life, being with the electronics, with home automation, with the financial markets, in the stock market, or now in the crypto more recently, but also in other very different areas that I have worked with or being at hobbies or whatever. So I believe that one the main purpose of life is when we learn something, we should share it, and so that's the best thing we can do with our knowledge. So in the Learn and Share channel, you will find all types of things that I've been involved with. But today, the subject is DEX Finance. And once again, I'm grateful that you accept this invitation for this interview.
Oh, it's our pleasure,
And
Francisco.
and let's go on from there. So, Mark, tell me a little bit about you, your background, and how do you are now here with this great project that you are going to present to us. And
Yeah,
then we'll
so
go to Kaylee, of course.
sure. Myself, pretty humble beginnings. When I was in my early 20s, I started a retail business, and that's kind of how I've made a living for myself. I've been doing that for about a decade, and then I've kind of branched out from there. Prior to 2017, I actually wasn't all that familiar with cryptocurrency. Yeah, my introduction was looking into some of the projects that were getting a lot of notability around that time. XRP, Ripple was getting a lot of talk. VeChain was getting a lot of talk. And so that was kind of my foray into dipping my toes into crypto, learning about those projects, and then investing into it. And then that did very well for myself. And you know how it is, the longer you're in crypto, the more you're learning, the deeper into the rabbit hole you're going. And then I'm cutting edge of DeFi now, right? Like all the protocols that I'm involved in tend to be trying to push the buck to some extent, or trying to do something to kind of differentiate and move things forward technologically, right? So how I ended up getting involved with DEX is just through meeting Jake, the CEO, through investing together and kind of like growing a strong friendship through, putting each other onto different projects and different technologies that we think are interesting. And it kind of just naturally turned into a scenario where he has a very extensive background in software development. The CEO and the CTO, they both co-run a marketing firm for quite some time now, I think over a decade as well. And our CTO is kind of a back-end expert, and our CEO is a front-end development expert, and they both have just so much experience working with big, admittedly Fortune 1000 companies with their real career, that there was a lot of things with cryptocurrency that we were thinking, we could do this and we could do it better, and we could do this in a way that's, a little bit more fiscally responsible, kind of leaning on CEO Jake's background in finance as well. He was a pit trader for the Chicago Board of Exchange for about 12 years. And so we've all kind of leaned on him for a lot of guidance on reading charts and technical analysis and this sort of thing. But in this case, we're all just working together using all the information that we've put together over the years and months to make something special that we think that people in DeFi, and especially the Binance Smart Chain, can really come to appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was a few minutes ago, while we were waiting for you, I was talking with Kaylee about how important sometimes it's great to have a core team that has different skills. The developers, and sometimes there's people with the sales or stock exchange experience, and sometimes it's also nice to have someone for marketing. And as you explained, I think that's a really nice mix to have, because sometimes the projects just with good developers, they might be really good developers, but nobody would know about their technology. So
and we certainly have our hands in many different areas when it comes to our team. We have a law counsel on retainer, or to counsel. We have copywriters, marketing experts, web development experts. And then, outside of just the core development team, we've made a lot of connections, partnerships and friendships with some of the other major players in this space. Our ETF system, we worked with Balancer over at Polygon. They helped us with that, right? So there's a number of different ways that we can kind of grow as a team, and of course just keep it going.
Yeah, and from what you have just said, you also have people like Kaylee that is here, and thank you, Kaylee, for being here.
Absolutely.
That I've noticed in Telegram and Discord, you have really interest people trying to help the community, and these projects also depend of the organic growth and how people are feel in the project, and how they are treated, and how are all of the many doubts, some serious, some not very serious, that they have about the protocol. Kaylee, how it is to be handling with all of these questions every day, every minute?
Horrible. No, it's absolutely fine. Honestly, like I think I can't say enough like how amazing this community is. It's the entire reason why I even stay to help out, and that kind of drags me into it, like the positive vibes people have. I love the questions that come up, and it's not just the core team or the moderators that answer the questions. It's also the community itself. Like the community is teaching each other how to use the entire protocol, how it works, how to get into it. And some questions I can't answer yet, but then there's so many people who can go into it and give the answers so clear. There's always an answer to everything. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a really fun community to be part
Kaylee,
of.
how do you handle when you feel that somebody's making a question which is not the real question that they are making? They are making that question somehow to try to find some flaws in the protocol. Because I've seen many of those everywhere.
I love it. I love it. Let them come with all those questions. I think. So, I mean, I have been part, not necessarily in crypto, but in many other communities as well, where you just see that there's like different types of communities, right? And there's nothing good, in my personal opinion, about a community that's only hyping, that doesn't ever ask critical questions. You need to have those as well. And it's better, best, if people can actually answer those questions. And so far, I've not seen one question go unanswered or that the team hasn't thought of. Like, it's amazing. I love those questions because if I can't answer it, I'll find out what the answer is. So yeah, let them come on with all the questions for sure. Yeah.
And that's because of the organic growth and the growth from these projects. It comes a lot from what we see with YouTubers, whatever, in social media. But when I get into a Telegram or Discord group, I don't say nothing. I just analyze. For some days I just see what type of talk is there, and if it's only let's go up, let's go to the moon, let's go up, let's go to the moon, normally it's not interested. And there's something I've saw here in DEX. It's there was people talking technically about the protocol, the goods and the bads, and what you expect in 1 month or 2 months this might happen. And that's a really good thing. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to interview. I'm doing some analysis sometimes about passive income. I think it's a great objective to put your money to work for you, and so passive income, it's something that I want to speak with the community. So Mark, let's jump into DEX Finance. Tell me about it, because when people, let me try to share here my screen. When people jump into your website, they see something like this, and and I'm sure some say, okay, so I should start and go shopping for tokens. Okay, so that could be something like everybody does. They just pick a token, they see the price, they do their analysis, and they buy. But DEX Finance is not this. Can you explain a little bit of what is DEX Finance?
Yeah, so DEX Finance is it's a yield generating protocol. And so the premise of it is it's a financial product. You're investing in the protocol, and then you're gaining reward income based on emissions and our regulation pool. And then the way that we've designed it using algorithmic protocols or like Tomb as a foundation, we've made some radical changes to really kind of take it to the next level. So with this protocol, how it works is you're investing your money into different farms. That money is then being made to work for you, and then you're catching some of the reward income from that, and you can then move that income into like a staking farm and gather blue chip tokens, or a DEX ETF token, which is essentially a basket of tokens within one token. So with each DEX ETF token that you get, which for some reason on that diagram is misspelled EFT, then you also
it wasn't me. It wasn't.
Yeah, you're also getting a bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coin, Cake. You're getting a big basket of assets with your rewards, which is nice, especially in this bear market where the price of everything's down, and so you're able to dollar cost average passively into the market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so explain me about this. So what would be a typical entrance point in your protocol? Someone that has some doing some analysis and has some money to put to work to have some passive income, where you advise them to go?
So it really just depends on that person's risk tolerance. You know, for the person who wants to be a little bit more conservative with their investment, we always recommend that you put most of your money in the US DEX USDC farm, because it's paired to a stable coin, and US DEX is designed to always be above peg. There's very little risk of any kind of fluctuation in that pool. You're always going to get consistent returns that are reliable. And then, in some kind of doomsday scenario where, let's say, the price of US DEX were to go under peg, we've got enough money in our treasury to float the peg a couple times over. And so, at least in the immediate future, I would argue personally, not financial advice, I'd argue that the US DEX USDC farm is almost risk-free. You can kind of gain your income. You don't have to worry about anything happening while you're sleeping with your money. It's not having any kind of volatile swings, and then you'd be happy with that. Now, taking a portion of your investment and putting some, let's say 30% of it, into DexShare or the DexShare BNB farm, this has a higher APR on it. It's got a little bit more fluctuation, but if your goal is to be gathering DexShare over time so that you can gather passive rewards more and more over time, then it's definitely a farm you don't want to sleep on, just due to how much it tends to pay in APR every day.
Okay, so tell me, how do you guarantee that the peg with USDC is maintained? Because that's always something, especially after some adventures in other projects, people ask, how you guarantee that, being a stable farm with USDC, of course, maybe the most stable coin. How do you, what's the magic behind to maintain peg?
Yeah, so that's the main difference between our protocol and every other 3-token seigniorage Tomb protocol, is that unlike them, we have a smart contract in place that makes sure that we always have peg. And so how that works is, typically with these protocols, when they're over peg, so over $1 in our case, then the protocol is minting extra US DEX to try and bring that price down and to also reward its investors. In our case, the US DEX goes to a smart contract that looks at the health of the peg. It looks at how much is in the treasury, and it does a number of checks and balances to make sure that before people get rewarded, the protocol is kept in good health. And then, we work with what we have after. And so this way we're able to operate on a surplus and make sure that people are able to get consistent returns, and also kind of build up that treasury in that way that helps strengthen that peg even further. The whole system is designed so that the smart contract is selling US DEX at a nice consistent rate when we're over peg. So right now we're at $1.44, and every US DEX it sells and puts into the treasury, the buying power on that is multiplied. If we were to fall under peg, say be 80 cents, we'd be taking the profits from selling at $1.44 to buy up that remaining, 20 cents and get it back up to peg. And so we're really magnifying the amount of leverage and buying power that our asset has when we need it, right? In regular Tomb Forks, because users are being rewarded their peg token passively all the time, that tends to be the easiest place for them to reach to take profits. And what that does is it puts the whole peg into a tailspin and adds a lot of instability to it. Anybody who's watching this that's familiar with any of the other protocols out there, and I mean any of the other protocols out there, know that they've fallen under peg. They've had times where they don't print and give you rewards, that the whole protocol gets put into a kind of a as they'll put it, a zen state where it's not really operating to its maximum capability and giving people the returns they're hoping for. And that's kind of become like the norm and what is expected in this space. And that's one of those things that we think that shouldn't be the reality.
Shouldn't be yeah. So I believe you made something to avoid that. Kaylee, a question to you. If someone wants to start to invest something, Mark already mentioned about the farms, and one that is a more conservative and there's no big risk for impermanent loss, like this one with USDC, the BNB. What would be the strategy that you, although it's not financial advice, we know that, what would be a strategy that you would reply to someone in Telegram that asks for help on this because he's a little bit lost?
Well, I think that question can be answered in many ways because it completely depends on the person, right? And that's also what I love about the community. Instead of saying like, oh, just go to the docs, or just, put it all into this, we actually start asking questions like, okay, so what is the risk you want to put into it? Like, how much are you willing to risk? How often do you want to compound? Do you just want to put it in there and not look at it anymore? If you just want to put it in there and not look at it anymore, maybe put it into the regulation instead of the farms, because then you get the ETF and you don't actually, you can compound the ETF again, but you don't have to. The ETF is quite stable for, not stable. It has the price is more stable because it depends on all the tokens that are in it, right? Whereas if you do want to compound, for now, I would definitely go for probably most of it starting a US DEX and getting some DEX IRA to go into the wrap DEX one. Those are like the things that I would start personally with because they have almost no risk with them. And it's a great way to start earning more shares, which you can then put into the BNB farm or into the regulation. So that would be my personal advice, yes. Not financial.
Yeah, just to add on what Kay said, with the wrap DEX farm, that's a good point, is that, we created an ability. So we have another token called DEX IRA, which is kind of an ecosystem token. You can use it to take part in launch pads. You can use it to take, to take part in the ecosystem in different ways and benefit. And, we launched that a year ago and we worked that into the system. So by wrapping it and pairing it and then depositing it, it's not a real liquidity pair. We've kind of simulated a liquidity pair. And so it acts in every possible way like it's a liquidity pair. You stake your tokens and you're getting that APR. But because it's not a real liquidity pair and something that we've kind of simulated, there's no risk of impermanent loss with it. So no matter what the tokens do inside of that, you're not losing any kind of value in any way.
Okay, so I understand that. So let's make here a test drive. Let's say that I want to put I prepared here some BNBs. So first I will have to approve, and if I'm wrong, Kaylee will just correct me and help me. Okay, if it's like if I'm on Telegram and Discord, so I will approve this. So I'm approving here that this is going to be the farm that I want to get in. I'm not putting money yet on it. So there's the typical authorization of this first option that I just did. It's what, Mark? This first transaction.
Oh, so the approval. So what you're doing is you're giving the contract permission to interact with your wallet.
Yes.
Most
So, okay.
decentralized apps you have to approve first. This is just signing off. I agree to let this website interact with my wallet, and then from then on, you're able to access those functions.
Yes. Okay. So the first step is to approve this the farm that you want to get in. Okay.
Yep.
So let's say now that I want to add here BNB. You have on this an option to create what you call the LP. Okay.
Yeah, liquidity.
What tokens can I use for this?
So you're able to zap into the farm, which means that if you have BNB, USDC, USDEX, or DexShare, you only need one of those tokens in order to put that value into the farm. So like you said, you could just put in 0.432, and now what that's going to do is going to sell half of your BNB to purchase USDC. It's going to sell the other half of your BNB to purchase USDEX, and then it's going to pair those together for you, and you can now deposit them in the farm.
Okay, so it means I could use directly BNB or USDC, or if I have already tokens like DEX share, could I start just buying DEX share and then?
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing you can do is you could just buy some. If you have some BNB, for example, in your wallet, let's say 10 BNB, you could buy 10 BNBs worth of DEX share and just pair those immediately. And that way you're getting way more value out of it too, because you have that whole 10 BNB farming for you, and you have the whole equivalent in value with DEX share farming for you.
Okay, so from this point on, when it refreshes, it will appear around $100. So the first thing we look is, really.
No, it won't. You'll have to still add it to the farm.
Oh yeah,
it's a small thing that people often forget. So they're like, "Oh, it's not appearing." Yeah.
That's why exactly I wanted to do this, because there's three things that you have to do to show it. The first thing that people say, okay, where's my money? Okay, so now you will have to add it, what you have just created, and to deposit.
Yes.
Okay, so my idea was also to help people that not following. Oh, where's my? Because I've seen these questions on your social media.
Often,
people, I just did that and I don't see the money there. So I just put in around $100 here on this farm. So the first thing that we see, it's really interesting APRs. Around 300 here and around 400 here. How do you can maintain these APRs, Mark?
So the APRs themselves, maintaining it is an interesting word to use. We've been having a lot of discussion about this recently, because the APRs do go down over time. So the more people that are invested in the farms, if the value of DEX share were to stay the same by comparison, then the APR is going to come down, as it's taking the same amount of DEX share and it's distributing it out to more people, right, at the same value.
Okay.
Now, if DEX share, for example, were to go on a huge tear right now and go up to $900 and something, and the amount of people in the farms were to stay the same, then the APRs would double probably. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you can see the APRs dropping over time. This is partially due to the fact that DEX share is constantly being added to the supply as it's being emitted through the farms. There's kind of a counteract to the price going up. It's kind of getting diluted a bit, and so there's people have to buy in against that action. What I was going to say was
I was going to ask you, is that an automatic process? This APR automatically changes, so
so it's dynamic. So it's doing a calculation based on how many people are staked in the farm and what the price of DEX share is at the moment. And then like I was going to say, if the price of DEX share is going up but the APR is going down, that doesn't necessarily mean that your reward is going down.
Yes.
It can balance out, where because the DEX share you're getting is worth more, you might be getting the same amount of money even though the APR is displaying lower.
Okay, so it's an automatic process. So every day when people just go on the dashboard and to see, they know exactly what the APR they expect for the next day. Let's
exactly.
say in this way. What about this farm, the BNB? You said that this is a little bit more aggressive. Well, the APRs are double. So what are the dangers of this farm?
Well, both tokens in that pair are both tokens that can fluctuate in value pretty wildly. BNB, we've seen it with the general market trend. In the last bull run, it was hitting like $600 or something like that, and now it's dipping around $200-300, and it's kind of down there, right? If we had launched our protocol when BNB was at a high, for example, like that, then you would probably take some hit to your value through impermanent loss with that kind of drop. DexShare is also another token that can fluctuate as well. It right now it's kind of it's found a bit of a support at 350, but it's been known since launch to move between 200 and 500. So those farms, I feel like, are very good if you're putting money away for a longer period of time, and you're willing to just ride through the fluctuation in value. And then, because it's got a little bit more volatility to it, the APRs are increased as a result. So you're getting a little bit more too for the amount of value that you're investing.
I was trying a few things here, but maybe I don't have funds now to do it. Okay, so just say I have a question about this. So from now on this farm, now I will start to get my rewards here on the Dex share.
Yep.
And one option I could do, I could basically claim this Dex share, go to my wallet and change it. And I could also, if I'm happy in 1 year or 2 years or whatever, I could go here and take it out.
Yep.
How do you, I know that you have a strategy for this so that it has less impact in the protocol. You have already mentioned that from the Dex share I get here, I could even win something else. So what's the strategy behind here? I heard that we should claim this Dex share and then put the Dex share to work, correct?
Yes. So the Dex share that you claim from the farms, you can then stake in the regulation staking pool. And
okay,
so
let's go there to see what's there.
So here in regulation, you can see that at the top, it's got an APR of 491 or 1.35% per day. You can see how much is locked in and staked into the regulation staking pool. And this also is similar to the farm, where the more amount of Dex share that's staked in here is going to be dragging down the APR a bit.
Okay.
Now, we're able to add Dex ETF to this fund. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you can stake your Dex share here, and you'll be able to collect Dex ETF tokens.
So so from the farm, that the Dex share that I have here, I would go on regulation, and I will start to basically put them here. Correct?
Yeah. So you would approve the same. You'd approve the contract the same way you did with the farms, and then you'd be able to stake your Dex share, and the Dex ETF that you get as a reward. That's where we think that most people should be taking their profits from. That's the healthiest way to take your profits for the protocol, because the Dex ETF only has a small amount of Dex assets in it. People are able to sell it to their heart's content, and it doesn't have any kind of negative impact on our market.
Okay, so I understand. So basically, one question that people might have is, okay, so but why don't I compound automatically here on the farms? Because I could claim and add more.
That's certainly something you can do too. We definitely give you lots of options here at Dex Finance. So you can just take the Dex share you get, of course, and put it into the regulation to collect the ETF. Or if you want to collect more Dex share so that you have a larger percentage of owning the supply of Dex share, then you can, of course, double down and just compound back into your farms. And this will, of course, allow you to gather more Dex share, which in turn means more that you can stake in regulation and more ETFs that you can be passively earning over time.
Okay, so I understand. So, but there's no big difference if I compound here the Dex share, the APR, if I put it on regulation, well, I know the APR is going to move, but I don't lose anything about putting here the Dex share, correct? Or am I wrong? What's the main difference of compounding? There, I don't have rewards in Dex ETF, but here, that's the main difference.
That's the main difference. The main difference is you're collecting Dex ETF this way, and Dex ETF is just a great token to collect and sell. And then the farms, again, a big part of that is the main motivation to compounding more into the farms is because you want more Dex share. Right? If you want to be collecting Dex ETF, then regulations where you want to go. If you want to be getting more Dex share, then just keep putting them in the farms and get more Dex share, boy.
Okay, so this could be a strategy to have like a passive income, taking your DEX share,
Absolutely.
put it here to work, and going and selling your DEX ETF without hurting the protocol too much. Okay, I
Absolutely.
understand that. You mentioned then, where do I burn or mint this? Let me see if I find it. It's strategies.
Under strategies there.
Strategies. Let's see if I
DEX
go there.
ETF.
Well, it's not going there, but
DEX ETF.
yes, here we go. Okay, so here it's when the users come here, they also probably going to have some doubts. What is this, you know? So what are the main options here? We know we already are collecting DEX ETF. They will be here. What can we do here?
Yeah, so mint and burn is just another way of saying buy and sell in this case, right? So you can mint or buy DEX ETF tokens, which means you could take like BNB, for example, and let's say you had $100 worth of BNB, right? Well, you would buy DEX ETF with it. It would take that $100 and it would break it up into multiple assets. So your $100 of BNB would become like $10 of Bitcoin, $1.30 of Bitcoin, $1 of Ethereum, $13 worth of BUSD, $5 worth of cake, and it breaks it down into all these different categories. And so you're collecting a vast portfolio of different assets. You're averaging out the risk in the market. You're also putting some in stablecoin as well. And so it's just a really great store of value, and a way to, especially in this bear market, like I was saying, collect up value and wait for that next bull market where a lot of these tokens are going to go on a run.
So it's like your personal broker, you know, they do the work for you. You just put the money and you will divide it.
Your
what
personal
could be
ETF.
A good, yes, the good assets for that. Okay. So, and then you have the option to burn, which is
selling, right? Yeah. Okay. And so, and you can either sell as one asset. So let's say I have $100 worth of DEX ETF tokens. I could say, I just want BNB. I just want BUSD. Or you could say, just give me everything I own. I want all of these cryptocurrencies. Send all 8 of them to my wallet.
Okay, so this would be the final point where you gain your basically your passive income going through the DEX ETF scenario. Well, as you see, this is quite of a travel. Kaylee, how do you explain this to people when they ask you? You know, it has to be chapter by chapter, correct?
It does, but I think people also go through it chapter by chapter, right? So when I got into it as well, I was like, oh my God, like, where do I even get started? And money market wasn't launched at that point. So it was just DEX IRA already. It's like, okay, so what does this mean? What does this do? Why do I need so much of this? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But then slowly, by just asking the right questions and just going, okay, so if I do this with this, basically how we have been going through the money markets all together now. So first it was one farm was opened, the second farm was opened, and suddenly we could stake it in the regulation. Then after suddenly the bonds came that we could use in the burning, and you learn step by step. And I think that's very important for someone who wants to be like involved in this whole project and be able to use it in the right way. Is just to take it step by step and ask the right questions.
Yes, that's very true. Mark, I'm sure this is not done with just 1 or 2 contracts, correct? All of this complexity has a lot of complexity behind, a lot of formulas, a lot of things.
Yeah, this is a project that can't be copied very easily. It'd be like a plot to a movie for a team to figure out how to copy us. I think we have between 50 and 60 contracts that are operating at once in order to get the protocol to operate properly. And then there's a number of back-end kind of contracts that we've had to learn, discover the tech, and implement in order to make some of these functions work in a way that's possible on the Binance Smart Chain.
So I'm sure there's a lot of complexity. Tell me something. What are the projects you are working? I'm sure you're not stopped, and this is not the end of the line of everything that you are building. What are the things that you could talk on this interview that you are working on? I heard about something about strategies. What strategies are, you know?
Yeah,
Can
so the
you?
auto compounded strategies are what is one of the features that we're actively developing right now and are aiming to release as soon as we can. So what we've done is if people are familiar with auto compounding vaults, how they typically work with these LP farms is you can use because let's say you don't want to claim your reward every day or 3 times a day to compound it back in.
Mhm.
You can just toss it into an auto compound vault, and it'll take your rewards every 2 hours. It'll compound it back in, and just a way to kind of turn your APR into APY, right? The issue with auto compounders, especially when it comes to algo tokens like our own, is what you're doing is you're putting in an insanely large amount of sell pressure on your share token if you're getting your entire community to auto compound, right? You go from having some people move their funds around the protocol to people kind of setting it and forgetting it, and now they're not moving any of these things out of circulation. They're just always selling it, right? With the auto compounding strategies that we're going to release, we're looking to the same way we changed the game with our protocol in relation to other similar protocols. We're looking to change the game when it comes to auto compounding, and so we're developing the first auto compounder that can use multiple liquidity pools and move your funds between multiple liquidity pools. And so it's going to be able to take your funds from, say, or here, let me just take it back and say, let's say you have $1,000. This is that example again, right? You have $1,000 and you want to get in. Well, when we have our auto compounding strategies, how that will work is you'll be able to pick a strategy based on your risk tolerance level. So we have a number of them, like balanced, gunslinger, aggressive strategy, and be able to just zap your $1,000 into that strategy. And now it's going to automatically take your $1,000. It's going to put some into the US DEX farm. It's going to put some into the DexShare BNB farm. It's going to take profits from one and move it to the other, from that into the regulation, from regulation into ETF, and you'll be able to even set a take profit percentage. Say, put aside 20% of my income for the week, and then reinvest the other 80%. And this way, it kind of takes all the when should I take profits, when should I compound, what should I do away from the user, and just lets you be like, hey, I'm just collecting a paycheck, and my funds are growing, and I'm also, I'm shaving money as well,
Yes, and a good name for that in that case would be the gold professional broker. Automatically.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How far are we there from there? I was talking with Kaylee about dates and about sometimes in crypto people set up
Unrealistic
scheduled date and they
Yeah.
don't fulfill it. But what can you tell us about that? How far are we in the development for those strategies? Because I think those are really interesting.
So we're very far in the development. I'd have to really double check recently with where we're at with it. I haven't asked Jake or Matt specifically where the strategies are in maybe a few days now, but we're looking at having it released sometime, having a news regarding it probably sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's been something that we've always believed that we're just on the cusp of releasing, but that we've just kind of kept tooling with it and making some changes and kind of seeing how, through testing and, where we're at with it. But yeah, we've kind of just felt like we've been so close to releasing it all this time.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, because that's going to avoid a little bit of all of those steps that I was doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the thinking, if I could read a document saying this is this is what might happen to your investment, and we just go from there, and I think that's
also, it's just
really
great
nice
for people who like even your walkthrough, as simple as it was, us kind of going through it step by step. There's people that's even going to be a bit overwhelming for. If we can get rid of all of that just at the front on the front end of it, we're going to have more exposure, more engagement, more people taking part in the protocol, just based on saying, I do have enough effort to at least zap into this and see what happens. You know, whereas, you know, having to learn about each individual pools, the pros and cons, you know, when should I put it into regulation? When should I take out ETF? You know, these are all things that can be a little bit overwhelming for new investors. So we're really aiming with the automated strategies to cater to those that are even new to this whole concept of DeFi. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of your automated broker, right?
Yes. That's what we are waiting for also. Some of us know how to make all of these steps, but we know that many people are arriving into this crypto market with not a lot of technical experience, and sometimes, you know, at the same time they want to take to pay attention to all of the steps because they are afraid of losing money or whatever. And so I think that could be a really interesting way to help in this investment strategies.
I also
yes.
think it's not just new people. I mean, for new people, it's going to be amazing, right, to get into it. But it's also people who want to not constantly be thinking about it as well. How amazing is it if you just put in $1,000 and then look at it next year and see what has happened? Like, it just automatically goes into your wallet. I think it caters to both the experienced person in crypto and new people in crypto.
Yes, I think that will be very, very, very helpful, because most of the people still think like, okay, I'm buying a token, this goes up, this goes down. Okay, there's still a lot of people coming into this area that's the way they think about crypto. Is just, you know, like stock markets, you know, and that's not exactly what we are talking about here, and that's which makes it really, really nice too. Kaylee, I have a question for you. How easy it was for you to get the level of knowledge that you know about this project, not only you know, about what's involved in this, you know, because you are fairly new into the crypto world, correct? And you are also helping others. So it's like my channel. You have just learned and you are sharing and teaching. Okay, how
exactly
how difficult it was?
So it's, I mean, starting from, what was it, like 4 months ago, maybe, where my friend just set up my wallet and was like, there you go, what's BNB? I have no clue. And oh, wow, you have different networks. And then every time he tried to explain it to me for 2 days. And for 2 days, I was like, no, it just didn't make sense at all. And then it's not just getting into crypto, it's also getting into like DeFi. So that was like another thing. I didn't even know how to trade coins in general. I just knew how to DeFi. So I really, really learned from scratch. But like I said, the community has been amazing. The team has been amazing. I've been able to ask them so many questions. Like in the beginning, I reached out to Mark, and you know, the reply was very extensive, explaining everything. And then also like, if you ever need, just reach out. I was like, are you sure I'm talking to a core team member? Because these people should have better things to do than just try and help this poor girl out. But they do, they really care. And throughout the months, I have had a lot of interest in it, and I have been obsessively monitoring the chat and Discord as well, just really trying to find out, like, okay, so if this is a question I can't answer, what would the answer be? And by doing so, I have learned. But in order to get into DEX Finance, I don't think you need that kind of level of knowledge, of course. It can be very basic, just knowing how a farm works, or that it even just gives you some kind of interest. I think that's already enough to know or to manage your way through the whole project and protocol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark, I'm sure everyone understands this. The organic growth in the community is a key part in this.
Yeah.
You know, when things are going great with these nice APRs, with and people, you know, making more or less money, you know, everything is very positive. How both of you basically, how do you handle when things in the market are not going that well? And of course, people are used to make much money every day, and then they don't. And how do you handle these fluctuations within the community?
You know, it's funny, within the community, we don't handle these situations. We don't have them, not yet, at least. You know, we've been blessed in that since we launched DEX Finance, we've kind of just had fantastic growth, fantastic, you know, reception from the community. We haven't had very much, if any FUD or confusion or concerns that seem to like make people uncomfortable or anything like that, you know. So how we handle that change in people's opinion, I don't know yet. If there was going to be a time where, you know, people are a little less happy with things, that's going to be a learning experience for us. We're really used to kind of keeping people really happy with what we're building. We don't have any kind of sign that it's going to downtrend in any kind of way. You know, it's kind of hard for me to speak on what to expect, because when people learned that we launched the same day that Terra's stablecoin died and Bitcoin dropped by like, you know, 5K or whatever.
That was on target day, huh? It was
Yeah,
your marketing. It was your
the
marketing team that picked that day.
Exactly. You know what's funny? It was more along the lines of we picked that day. We knew that the market was going into a bear market. We knew that, but we had no idea that that day was going to be a catastrophe. Specifically, we had already kind of scheduled everything up until that point, and yeah, it just didn't. You know, it just bad luck, I guess. But at the same time, it didn't shake us. It didn't matter. And that's why it's kind of weird for me to kind of predict how we're going to act in different situations, because the way DEX Finance has been operating is counter to people's expectations. People expected in this market where people are losing 80% of their portfolio that, you know, DEX wouldn't be growing at least at the pace that it has been and doing so well.
Well, I would like to add upon that, actually, because I think, if I'm correct, Francisco, like how we started talking in general was because you asked me questions like, okay, so what do you think is going to happen? Because there was this like huge like crash when Bitcoin went under 20,000, and like everybody was just, oh my God, the crypto market has just like completely crashed. What are we going to do? And we did drop quite a bit from, I think, 350 that we're at now to at some point 180.
Yep, 180.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they did have a little bit of panic, but it honestly didn't last that long. And it's not because we went up that fast. Like everybody was just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like, really, this is a perfect moment to start buying. Like people bought more and more just because they were like, this might be the only dip we're going to get in a long time. So no panic at all in the market. Just people who came very new into the whole community. They were like, oh God, I just came into it. Am I going to lose all my money right now? And then after like 2 or 3 messages, they were like, oh, no, I think I'll be fine. And it's amazing. It's really great to see how the community supports each other.
After 2 or 3 days, they were really happy with their profits.
Where are all those bonds? Give me more. No, it was. It's great to see how we recovered extremely fast. First of all, so it's also like I say, the proof is in the pudding. But it was also the community that really was like, oh, don't worry, we'll fix this. It will be fixed by itself.
Yeah, that's really great input, and that's true. And I've seen it because I jump in Telegram and Discord sometimes on the group. Mark, I've noticed that you have something here, which is a DEX DAO. Sorry, a launch pad. I saw DexPad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the DexPad?
So the DexPad is our launch pad, and so it's a IDO, or initial decentralized, or it's an IDO. It's initial offering, right, on a project. So how it works is we launched our project DEX Finance through our DexPad, through our launch pad, and in order to participate in the pre-sale for our project, you had to hold DexIRA tokens in order to make a tier which allowed you to participate, right? You got allocated an amount of pre-sale that you're able to purchase. The DexPad is a launch pad that other projects are able to launch through as well if they're looking to get funding. You know, we'd have to work with them, take a look at what they're doing. If they seem reputable, you know, do whatever verifications we can on the risk and safety of what they're doing. But it's definitely an opportunity for people to discover some new projects, and it will be, once it starts getting a little bit more used, to discover new projects, and for the DEX community to kind of go in together on exciting new ideas, right? And then we've got such an amazing community that's been, a lot of them have been sticking together for the last year now. I know that any project that launches through our DexPad is going to have great reception.
And are you also having this as a additional source of revenue, or basically just a service for the ones that want to launch projects in your pad?
Yeah, so I think there's fees built into it that are very minimal, and then we'd just be like working with whatever team and what their situation is and what kind of arrangement we can make where we may need to help them or this or the other, right? But the fees, I think, by default are very, very low.
Okay, so it's just one source of revenue, but that's not the main purpose of it.
Yeah, exactly. The main purpose of it really is just to put people onto new projects and get people in the community involved in new exciting ideas, any kind of exciting partnership opportunities that may come up.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Something else that I wanted to ask you. You already mentioned about these strategies. Do you have any other projects that you want to do with this protocol?
So, do we have any other?
Or do you feel that
that's a technology that we could lease out to other protocols?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So the auto compounding strategies is definitely something that other protocols, especially in the tomb space, would be very, very, very happy to receive. And so there's definitely an opportunity for us to take that technology and work with other teams to license it out and make money from that as well. Yeah, I think that's definitely the plan. We've talked about that quite a bit.
Okay, good. And I'm sure we'll have more news on that soon. So you have any other thing that you would like to share with the people that are attending about the project? I think it has been a great travel here.
Yeah, there's a number of things that we didn't really touch on too much. That's great. In the farms, for example, there's a little calculator icon that lets you kind of see the APR. You can bring up. So that little calculator under the title of each farm, so you click on that, and you kind of get a little estimation of what your APY would look like over the next 90 days.
Okay.
And then another big thing that we didn't really mention is that
I can interrupt you, and I can say that it's more or less what the test that I've been doing, because I have here about 1,000 and it's give me 13 a day, so I haven't collected yet. So yeah, okay. But I have a question about this that you were explaining. So sometimes I don't like these calculators because they they give you some calculators like 1 year, 2 years, and we have seen this
so we weren't trying to do that. A lot of that's a huge thing. And we were talking earlier about communities that are always too hype. Right?
Yes.
The other thing to look at for are projects that are always too confident and too hype, right? I would say there's a kind of a predatory trend going on, especially in DeFi over the last year, where check out this calculator. You put $1,000 in, after a year, you're gonna be worth more than Elon Musk.
Yes,
like exactly. That's not realistic or healthy or even morally acceptable thing to do to people, So, that's something we wanted to avoid. Our calculator is 90-day time frame. It's based on today's current percentages. These things are subject to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it could go up, it could go down, but we're not going to extrapolate that out to if you compounded for the next 2 years, this is where you'd be at, because, that's just having fun with a calculator.
Well, in my opinion, your strategy of having a variable APR automatically, depending of the situation, by the minute, I think it's a good tool, because it's there what you get. If it's 10%, it's 10%. If it's 200, it's 200, and that's talking the truth for your investors. They I'm sure they would like it, 900 here, but it's the reality, and during this bear market, I think the reality is a good option. I
That's
guess.
It, man. And people are hungry for the reality. They're hungry for being told the truth.
Yeah. I think if I could add up on that. So no worries. I would say that also, of course, I think that's one of the biggest things that people do kind of like wonder about or kind of are concerned about is that they say like, oh yeah, I used to get like 1,000 APR or APY, and now I only get like 200. And then like, okay, yeah, but if you get 1,000 in the beginning, do you think that's even sustainable? We're here to stay here for the long run, and the community always already immediately comes back with like, yeah, but we don't even want that. We don't want an APY that is above 1,000 because it gives you fast money. We want something that's just sustainable, something that we can actually build upon, something that will not suddenly be like, oh, we don't have the funds to pay you anymore. Well, then we're just gonna like you have all the, I haven't been part of those yet, but all the rug pulls, of course, and it's just nice to know that you have something that's very, very trustworthy and sustainable. And I would rather have a little bit of a lower APR for 1 year than have something crazy for 1 week.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
but
Kaylee, there's only two types of people: the ones that were already in a rug pool and the ones that will be. So you know.
That's true. I know. Yes, I already had quite some comments about it from the team. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll be the exception to the rule.
Mark, there's a question here that I don't know how to answer. What are the difference between DexFiannce and Tokamak? Which I don't know what it is, but okay.
Well, admittedly, I don't know what Tokamak is either. I'd have to look it up. Interesting. So one thing that I just wanted to add on with what we were saying right now is that consistency is the name of the game. You know, we don't want to over reward people. We'd rather that our protocol can last much longer, paying people a consistent, smaller, but still great rate. You know, over 1% daily on your investments. Insane, especially when you're looking at the traditional market and how that tends to operate. You know, what you see with a lot of these protocols that will boast huge APYs and have crazy emissions at launch is, before you know it, they're under peg and they're struggling because people took all their insane amounts of profit. And now, you know, hey, check it out, guys, we invented a node system. This will help us. Hey, and we got a slot machine now. This will help us. And you know, it's just like, yo, how many ornaments you gonna tack on this burning Christmas tree? Like, so exactly. You know, we don't want to ever put ourselves in a position where we're adding features as some kind of fix to an issue that we shouldn't have allowed to happen in the first place.
Yes, I think this is the time that people are a little bit more aware of what is sustainable or not, and I think investors will be more and more demanding of this. You know, they want to know, because they have been in. We all have been in experience in the past that you know. Maybe we knew, but we just closed our eyes and let ourselves go, and then there was problems with some of the projects. And there's always a risk, of course, in every project. But I think this is a good, now in the bear market, I think it's a good time to pick the ones that could really help you. And I normally like to speak about these passive income projects that could be sustainable. You know, of course, there's always many risks. We've talked about some here. But I think it's great. We haven't touched about your first token that you launched, DEX IRA. Does it has any connection with this project?
Yeah, so DEX IRA is our main it's kind of our flagship ecosystem token. It was our first foray into crypto development. We created it back when reflection tokens were very big at the time. It was kind of the new tech, and so that's the whole premise of, you know, there's a buy tax on the token and a sell tax, and then the people who are holding the tokens are getting a bit of that fee, right, redistributed out to them. We saw it kind of get used, like a lot of these protocols, in a very unfocused way, where there's not really a motive or an objective or an issue that they're trying to solve with the tech. With DEX IRA, what we wanted to do was make a reflection token, but like everything else we do, put a custom spin on it and innovate. And so we created the world's first multi-reward reflection token. So by holding DEX IRA, you actually have a dashboard that you're able to connect your wallet to, and then you can choose between like 30 different reward tokens. Okay. So you can get paid passively. So let me go back to how the rewards actually work. Dex IRA, it's named after the IRA, kind of like a traditional Roth IRA. It doesn't function the exact same way, but that's kind of the inspiration for what we were trying to do with it. So it's a tax advantage way to kind of save your funds. There's a 0% buy tax to kind of get people to have no problem depositing money. But then, similar to a traditional Roth IRA, there's an early withdrawal penalty. So with the DEX IRA token, if you sell it within a year, you get hit with a 30% fee. Of that 30%, 20% is being redistributed to other holders in the form of whatever reward they've chosen.
Okay.
After 1 year, this gets completely waived. And so we actually ended up creating the first reflection token as well in the world that you can buy for 0%, collect rewards, and also sell for 0% if you're patient enough. The name of the game with our ecosystem is trying to reward patient, mature, future-focused investments. With Binance Smart Chain especially, there's such a huge reputation for being a degen, for not really doing your research, for just kind of going in, looking for quick profits, trading, day trading.
That's exactly right. We were talking about that before.
Yeah.
And I wanted now.
Yeah, exactly. And so with our whole ecosystem, the whole premise is like, no, we're not ushering to that. We're trying to attract people who want to make money, who are trying to save up for their retirement, who are trying to better their lives and do it in a healthy way. We don't want to, our token's not one that you can even day trade with because of that 30% penalty, right?
Yep.
It also creates a curious dichotomy where if the price of DEX IRA is going up, then people are happy because their holdings are worth so much more. But if the price of DEX IRA is going down, then people are also happy because now their rewards have like tripled, right? So it's been really fun to kind of see how that's played out with people and the psychology of it, and to see, especially now, even if you look at the DEX IRA chart, since we launched it July 22nd last year, it's just been great. It's had a couple times where it's dipped a little bit, but for the most part, it's really hard to see a chart like that these days. One thing that I didn't touch on that is separate but worth mentioning before I forget is that with DEX Finance, we got rid of the bond token, but we have the bonds that Kay was mentioning earlier, which is our form of protocol-owned liquidity through our direct partnership with Olympus DAO.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were the first project on Binance Smart Chain that Olympus DAO was willing to partner with directly. And we've been killing it on that front. I think we're definitely in the top 10 of the most bonded projects on that entire platform. And I think we're heading for the top 3, which is very similar to how when we launched in Binance Smart Chain, amongst all other seniorage protocols, not many people knew about us, and now we're passing by the biggest and most popular ones. I think our TVL is starting to surpass a lot of our competition, and we're aiming for the throne. We'll be number 1 soon at this rate.
Have any plans for multi-chain?
Absolutely. So DexBridge is something that we'll be working on in the future. This will be us expanding out into Matic, Phantom, and AVAX, I believe. And so we'll definitely be going multi-chain. We have plans also to have our own swap. So we'll have our own exchange where you'll be able to purchase and sell all DEX assets within our own kind of system. And we can expand it from there into other assets as well. We're working on a portfolio tracker for all of your assets in the DEX Finance ecosystem. So you'll be able to connect your wallet and look at all of your funds at where it's all set up in the farms, and get kind of like a diagnostics display on, your profits and whatnot and everything, all on one page, right? Right now, you kind of have to go around the website. Well, let me look at my farms. Well, let me look at my regulation page. Well, you'll be able to see it all in, one page.
Yes, a control center.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand how these protocols operate and what the important things to prioritize are in terms of their sustainability. So for a lot of these projects, being able to make sure that your peg token is healthy is imperative. And so anything that you can do to kind of build upon the project in a healthy way that also kind of ratifies the strength and stability of your peg token is going to be good. And so we're looking into ways that, you know, we can implement utilities that burn US DEX to take it out of supply. This will help with making it so it's easier to raise the price up. It's harder for it to go under peg. Different ways that you could lend and borrow assets. Another way to kind of take a supply if I'm lending out US debt, or if I'm borrowing against my US DEX and I got quite a bit of US DEX, well, that's being put aside and it's not being sold, right? So these are all things that would really help with making our system just more robust and efficient in a way. Mm-hmm. And so we definitely have things on track too for that will help with those sort of things. And then yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. Oh, another thing is that we're working on a series of educational videos right now called DEX Ed, where you'll be able to get your DEX Ed on on how the DEX finance.
That's a good strategy, because I think there's you know, all of these steps need a tutorial video.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big thing too. We're gonna have a series of videos that kind of can take the brand new person and introduce, you know, hold their hand, bring them through every step of the protocol and how to use it, as well as a pro, right?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I think we are about, well, we have been talking for more than an hour. That's great.
Time flies by when you're having fun.
Exactly. That was a really, really nice talk. Do you want to add something, Kaylee, before we close up our call, or Mark, anything that you would like to add?
If I were to add anything, I would say, you know, I think people are starting to really know about us now, but the name of the game for us is organic growth. If you're watching this, if you're interested in DEX Finance, if you've been happy with your investment, just let people know. Anyone you know that's maybe invested in some of these other protocols that are floundering or, you know, struggling, just let them know. You know, they don't. I'm not saying that you would have to tell people, you know, take all your funds out of wherever and put it in DEX, but we're a place where people can recover their funds right now. We're on a trajectory where we're going to keep going at this pace, and we have a lot in development that I think are really going to help solidify where we're at. Like I said, you know, we launched a month ago at about 500K TVL. We're now at over 10 million.
Yes.
We're now surpassing the vast majority of our competition. There's only 2 or 3 projects that would be comparable in size to us right now in terms of algorithmic tokens or tomb forks, and we're the only one that's always pegged, always printing, that has protocol owned liquidity, that has a treasury that backs the peg, and doesn't have any kind of silly gimmicks added on it. Like,
yeah, somebody said that here. Yeah,
never
exactly.
detect that proof of strength. You know, you're watching this video right now. You know, as we're filming it, it's June 28th. If you're watching this video right now and it's a month later, we're still pegged at that. Go check.
And I made the test. You know, I will follow up on those 100 bucks that I put there.
Yeah.
What happened? I might do a follow-up video. Okay. Thank you so much, Mark, for accepting this invitation. Kaylee, thank you for your remarks on, and good luck with the community and all of the help that you are giving in those forums, and good luck for the project. Okay. So
thank you so much. Yeah, it was lovely to be here, and it's nice to it's nice to kind of have like different perspectives as well. So I'm glad you invited me.
Okay, so if you guys ever travel to Lisbon, you know, just give me a call.
All right.
Will do.
Okay. See you guys.
Thank you
so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Until next time.